fulfillment unencumbered with the background threat of an imaginary God. And he says it looks bleak and cold, especially from the security blanket of religious ignorance. But, ladies and gentlemen, we need to take it seriously. If that's the way it is, then that's the way it is, and we need to face it. But we need to discuss it seriously and look at the evidence. Neither of us wishes to base his life on a delusion. But which is the delusion? Atheism or Christianity? That is for each of us to decide on the basis of the evidence, of course.
Thank you. The first thesis of Professor Dawkins' book, and each of these that's reflected in your program, is a summary. It's not a direct quotation, but the summary is, faith is blind, science is evidence-based. I have one excerpt at the top of page 126 to illustrate your argument, Professor Dawkins. One of the truly bad effects of religion is that it teaches us that it is a virtue to be satisfied with not understanding. Could you please elaborate?
Science uses evidence to discover the truth about the universe. It's been getting better at it over the centuries in the teeth of opposition from religion, although it has to be admitted that, of course, science grew out of a religious tradition. Religion, as the quotation that Judge Pryor read out, teaches us to be satisfied with, was it lack of evidence or lack of...
with not understanding.
With not understanding. I think that when you consider the beauty of the world and you wonder how it came to be what it is, you are naturally overwhelmed with a feeling of awe, a feeling of admiration, and you almost feel a desire to worship something. I feel this. I recognize that other scientists, such as Carl Sagan, feel this. Einstein felt it. We, all of us, share a kind of religious reverence for the beauties of the universe, for the complexity of life, for the sheer magnitude of the cosmos, the sheer magnitude of geological time. And it's tempting to translate that feeling of awe and worship into a desire to worship some particular thing, a person, an agent. You want to attribute it to a maker, to a creator. What science has now achieved is an emancipation from that impulse to attribute these things to a creator. And it's a major emancipation because humans have an almost overwhelming desire to think that they've explained something by attributing it to a maker. We're so used to explaining things in our own world, like these television cameras, like the lights, like everything that we make, the clothes we wear, the chairs we sit on, everything we see around us is a manufactured object. And so it's so tempting to believe that has been made, that living things, or that the stars or mountains or rivers have all been made by something. It was a supreme achievement of the human intellect to realize that there is a better explanation for these things, that these things can come about by purely natural causes. When science began, the aim to achieve it was there, but we didn't know enough. Nowadays, at the end of the 20th century, beginning of the 21st century, we still don't know everything, but we've achieved an enormous amount in the way of understanding. We now understand essentially how life came into being. We know that we are all cousins of all animals and plants. We know that we're descended from a common ancestor which might have been something like bacteria. We know the process by which that came about. We don't know the details, but we understand essentially how it came about. There are still gaps in our understanding. We don't understand how the cosmos came into existence in the first place, but we're working on that. The scientific enterprise is an active seeking out of gaps in our knowledge, seeking out of ignorance, so that we can work to plug that ignorance. But religion teaches us to be satisfied with not really understanding. Every one of these difficult questions that comes up, science says, right, let's roll up our sleeves and work on it. Religion says, oh, God did it. We don't need to work on it. God did it.
As we see in this video, Dawkins highlights a couple of points. Point number 1, the universe, life, and the complexity and the beauty that is surrounding us all came into existence not by a creator or an intelligent mind, but they came into being just by nature itself. Now, where is the scientific evidence for his claim? Did he conduct any experiments? No. When we refer to nature, we are inherently speaking of space, time, and matter as interconnected elements. All three must simultaneously exist as a unified whole. Did they come into being one by one? For example, if you have only matter, where and when will you put it? The same applies to the other two parameters, time and space, as well. So the statement that nature created itself is empty, unscientific, and irrational. It is like saying, my parents did not bring me into existence, I brought myself into existence. In other words, life created itself without even knowing what life is. Can anyone define what life is? Nobel Prize winner Watson and Crick, after discovering the structure of the DNA, said, DNA is the secret of life. That means DNA contains information about life. DNA is matter and visible, but life is intangible and invisible. Where did life come from? How did life create itself? Let me give you a book analogy. Just as a blank paper in a book is a medium that carries words to make the book meaningful, DNA is the medium that carries information about life. Just as the author writes a book, the designer designs the universe and life, period. Now, real science uses evidence. True science is grounded in evidence. But Dawkins claims that nature arose itself, followed by evolution creating all life. That lacks scientific foundation. Science explains the mechanism of how things work. It doesn't explain what is our purpose or who put the universe into motion. His second point is, he's talking about Einstein, Carl Sagan, and all other scientists. They were contemplating on the mystery and the complexity of the universe. Not only they were contemplating on the mystery of the universe, but great scientists like Isaac Newton and more than 65% of the Nobel Prize winners who are Christians, they also felt it so. They concluded that without an intelligent mind or a creator, creation cannot come to be. What did Sir Isaac Newton say about the creator? Let me read it. The most beautiful system of the sun, planets, and comets could only proceed from the counsel and dominion of an intelligent being. This being governs all things, not as the soul of the world, but as Lord over all. And on account of his dominion, he is wont to be called Lord God or universal ruler. The Supreme God is a being, eternal, infinite, absolutely perfect. It is a simple logic. Now, one may say Newton was a theist or a Christian, that is why he is injecting God into it. Let us see what Darwin says about the Creator. Let me read it. Darwin says, "There is a grandeur in this view of life, with its several powers, having been originally breathed by the Creator into a few forms or into one." Dawkins worships Darwin, yet he rejects his rational assertion. What Newton and Darwin are saying is this: if there is a creation, there must be a creator. Unlike Dawkins' non-scientific conjecture, real scientific ideas of Newton and Einstein were revolutionary and are practical inventions. Newton lived 500 years ago. At that time, science was very rudimentary. Now we are living in the 21st century. We are living in the digital age with advancements like nanotechnology, genetic engineering, gene editing. Yet, procrastinators like Dawkins make such unscientific post-diction or retrodiction with no scientific evidence whatsoever, but are very eager to take us to the Stone Age. Just as a parasite drawing life from its host, Dawkins camouflage in the cover of Real Science to prop up at his core his empty, non-scientific, vain, speculative narrative. His statement lacks scientific foundation, is nothing but a fairy tale, a bedtime story for adults, rather than the rigor of true scientific inquiry. His statement that the nature created itself is like saying Boeing 747 created itself and is racing upward because it is highly conscious, goal-oriented, and purpose-driven. So it joins its cousins in the sky to meet their sky daddy. In Dawkins' words, to meet the fairies at the bottom of the lake. To conclude, without lie, scientism dies. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.